If you're not a guy who thinks that you cannot get to the end zone any way possible, then you need not be a kick returner.
He is electrifying.
Top 10? Gotta be in the top 5.
Oh, my God! Unbelievable!
He was the best return man ever. I mean, there was just nobody better.
Work your tail off. 5 seconds left. Oh, 4. You dreaming? 3. That was 3, Brett. Number 3. More to go.
Evidently 2 pushing 2 weeks.
1, 2.
There is no question that returning a punt has got to be the toughest thing you can do on football field.
The art of the return. There are few plays in football more exciting than a long touchdown return. The men that do it all have certain traits.
You have to be fearless, number one.
You have a guy running at you at 500 miles an hour, and his goal is to kill you.
You gotta be crazy.
Most guys will tell you, looking up in the air with somebody coming down to hit me, I don't want to do that job.
You know there's going to be times where you're just going to get smoked.
You stop him, you stop him, you stop him, you stop him, and then all of a sudden you don't stop him so much.
You have to have moves. You've got to be able to fake people out.
He's got some shake and bake, doesn't he?
And then a great ability to make an unblocked first defender down miss.
One man missed him, another man missed him.
And then you've got to have speed. You've got to break away.
Bye-bye, baby, bye-bye.
So what separates the best from the rest?
He's got to have no brains first. You got to have guts second. And then you got to have that quick first step to say, I'm not going to let that guy hit me.
Here are the top 10 return aces of all time.
Number 10 return ace of all time, Dante Hall.
Wow. Where can I start with Dante Hall?
He's the best I've ever been around.
When Dante Hall got ready to catch the ball, people got out.
All right, Dante! Return ball!
He electrified the crowd.
Dante Hall at the 40, now the 45, cuts it back, and he's got room.
There he goes! Come on, Dante! Come on, Dante!
Just a punter to beat as he sprints it. 10, 5, touchdown!
Play Dante Hall, he got me. He got me. He's just like a little net. You need a little fly swatter to try to catch him.
Looked like he'd be in a box of 4 guys. And he'd somehow come out of that.
Hall is piled on. Now he gets away on second effort. Dante Hall still on his feet, still not down.
Dante Hall with one of the most incredible moves you will ever see.
How did he do that?
And next thing you know, he's in the end zone.
Dante Hall, the human joystick, they call him. Someone said it's like playing an Atari game with a joystick.
The human joystick with the touchdown!
I thought that was a great nickname because that's what he was. Here you are with the greatest athletes in the world and you're making them look silly.
Dante Hall's going to do it again!
I think Dante Hall had one of the greatest returns in history.
I just remember the pinball return versus the Broncos.
He catches it inside the 10-yard line.
Makes the first man miss, looking to try to get to the outside.
And then he actually starts running backwards.
It seemed like every Bronco had at least 3 chances at him.
He's in trouble. He's surrounded. Now he gets to the left side. He's got nobody but the kicker in front of him.
He winds up taking it all the way for a touchdown that wins the game.
Touchdown on an unbelievable kick return.
It was one of those where you just can't believe you just saw that.
That's why he's the best. That's why he's the best right now.
Hall's 12 return touchdowns are second most in league history, thanks in large part to one huge season.
Dante Hall had, in 2003, one of the greatest seasons we've ever seen from a return man.
Our number 10 ace earned a Pro Bowl spot after returning 4 kicks for touchdowns in 4 straight weeks.
He's going to outrun the entire Ravens defense. Touchdown!
He was actually considered early in the season for NFL MVP.
We assumed it was going to last 6, 7, 8 years. As it turned out, it didn't last very long at all.
He had 2 really good years. For most of the time, other than that, he was basically an average return man.
Dante Hall, yeah. What happened to that guy?
He's still in the league, and I didn't even know that the last couple of years. I didn't even know he was still in the league.
Dante has to make a man miss, makes a move, 20, for a while there, he was the scariest player in the NFL.
Dante Hall, 86-yard touchdown.
And then sort of went away. But when he was great, he was the best.
Coming up, find out which of these Super Bowl heroes cracked our top 10.
He's going to go all the way. He will score.
He did it on the biggest stage. That places him in my book in the Return Man Hall of Fame.
Do you know how you will react?
The record for the shortest punt return touchdown in NFL history came in the 1985 playoffs when the Bears' Sean Gale scored on this all-time NFL folly. Most postseason returns aren't that easy.
Tennessee has pulled a miracle.
In the last half-century, there have only been 35 postseason return touchdowns.
False command of the 30, breaks it to the near side, 25. Watch out.
That's the mark of a great player. When given the opportunity, he steps up and performs.
Darrell Green returns the punt, 50 yards.
A great return guy can single-handedly change the momentum of a game.
But surprisingly, most big game returns have been delivered by anonymous return men. Names like Fulton Walker and Stanford Jennings may ring a bell, but only for their one shining moment. In Super Bowl 35, Ron Dixon of the Giants and Jermaine Lewis of the Ravens had back-to-back kickoff returns for touchdowns. Becoming just the second and third players ever with multiple postseason return TDs. The first is next on our list.
The number 9 return ace of all time, Desmond Howard.
We may be gone.
Desmond Howard's one of the rare guys who, at the position he entered the league at, wide receiver, one of the top overall picks in 1992, he was a complete and total bust.
When Desmond Howard was returning kicks, he was in his element. That's what he liked to do. That's what he excelled at. But once you put him in an offense, he was a different player. As a receiver, not much, but as a return guy, he was electric.
There's a cross to Desmond Howard. Uh-oh, watch out.
There was so much expectation placed on him because of what he did at Michigan that he never really lived up to it.
He was an unbelievable weapon at Michigan. His signature play was in the Ohio State game. There's no game more important in this area than Michigan-Ohio State.
Desmond Howard is going all the way. A spectacular hook return for a touchdown.
It was so delicious seeing that, because how could anyone strike that pose in that situation right there? He endeared himself in the hearts of Michigan fans forever.
After taking home the Heisman in 1991, our number 9 return ace had 3 largely unsuccessful seasons in Washington and a year in exile with the expansion Jaguars. But then it all came together for the biggest of our big game returners.
Desmond Howard probably had the best punt return season of all time in 1996.
That year, Howard set the single-season record for punt return yards and returned to his home away from home to light up the Lions.
I remember 50, 40, 30, and the roar started to grow. And all of a sudden I looked around and I said, wow, there's a lot of Packer fans here today. And it was Desmond who brought him out.
Decided to try to give them a little treat, and I dusted off the Heisman pose.
Desmond Howard is at it again.
When you have a guy like Desmond Howard, it's such a threat. There's no doubt that without him, we would have not gotten to the Super Bowl.
To the 40, on his feet to the 45, outside midfield, to the 45, to the 40, he may go.
The score on your first punt return in a playoff game at Lambeau Field, it doesn't get any better than that for me.
A bold statement, considering just 2 games later, his 51 steps to glory helped the Packers win Super Bowl 31.
They say big players make big plays in big games, and Desmond Howard sealed the MVP trophy with that return.
That places him in my book in the Return Man Hall of Fame.
Through a hole to the 20, to the 30, outside to the 40, he may be gone.
It was just make a move on Vinatieri and then get to the robot.
Touchdown for Desmond Howard.
The biggest thing I remember about Desmond is the robot in the Super Bowl. It was just kind of awkward, kind of funny.
Is there a Super Bowl MVP pose? Have you made one up?
Howard is the only return man to ever earn Super Bowl MVP honors. And 3 years later, he had one more big game return back where it all started, against the team that drafted him.
The Lions lose their return man with a broken hand on like a Friday night. They get Desmond Howard signed on Saturday, and darn if he doesn't return a punt for a touchdown against the Redskins.
He's gone! He's gone! Touchdown, Desmond Howard! Is that unbelievable?
I think Desmond had a very, very, very worthwhile career. He was one of the best return men of his era, and he was a Super Bowl MVP. I'll take that. Okay? I'll take that any day of the week.
Number 8 return ace of all time, Josh Cribbs.
I'm a baseball player. I know the world doesn't know, but I originally, that was my heart, playing baseball.
Josh Cribbs no longer plays baseball, but he is still a home run threat.
Cribbs has got a crack at it. Where's he going?
That's the Josh Cribbs show to perfection. He's gone! Touchdown!
You gotta understand, he was a street free agent out of Kent State. He was a quarterback.
Now, wasn't going to get a chance at quarterback, so he said, okay, how can I make an NFL team? Well, special teams.
My goal was to make it NFL, doing anything possible, no matter what it took.
Cribbs used his quarterback experience to make his mark as a kick returner.
He just sees the field in a way that I think a lot of other people don't.
Cleveland, that's where it's at.
A lot of it has to do with his vision and the way he sees the field, the way he sees things on kickoff return. He sees the hole, and he can hit it, break tackles, and keep going.
The thing that makes Josh Cribbs so exciting is the fact that he's almost like a linebacker running down there. I mean, when he's returning a kick, you better watch out, because you're going to get the forearm shiver, you're going to get run over.
His legs never stop moving. When you hit him, you got to keep your legs moving.
He's like a defender running down there. He's like a running back. He's like a receiver. He's all kinds of things rolled into one.
Our number 8 return ace is all kinds of things. Cribbs doesn't just return kicks, he covers them.
Usually the big-time returners don't do anything from a coverage perspective. But he can go out and play gunner, and you have to deal with him as a gunner.
Josh Cribbs is taking out his own competition for top 10 return men.
And that's why I love Josh Cribbs, okay? He has that winner's mindset, that desire to win and do whatever it takes.
Want to see that 1-6? Say, oh, Lord, I repent for anything.
There's always the feeling that he's going to take this back.
Cribbs' resume-building moment came in December of 2009, when he returned 2 kicks the length of the field in the first half alone.
He's to the 40! He's outrunning the Chiefs!
To have 100 yards or more in the same game. They know he's coming, and yet they still can't stop him.
100 yards for Cribbs!
Everyone believes they can stop him, and he just says, I dare you to kick it to me.
The 8th kickoff return in his career for a touchdown!
Move over, NFL record books. Here comes Josh Cribbs.
That's Josh Cribbs. And sometimes you want to come off the bench and try to tackle him yourself, but I'd probably miss too.
I enjoy and I love telling people I wasn't drafted. They're like, what round you go? Second, third, first round? I'm like, try no round, I would have loved to hear my name on draft day, but I'm so glad it wasn't, because I still have a chip on my shoulder.
Up next, our first controversy, and it's a big one.
I can't believe he's number 7. There's something wrong with that list.
He was probably the best return guy to ever touch a football.
One of the biggest problems with the term return ace is that most people only think of return specialist. In fact, there are many players we considered for our list whose primary job was something else.
Coaches will spend an entire week at a blackboard trying to draw up a way to get him the ball in space where he can kind of create and make a big play. That happens organically on a kick return.
They're like pinch hitters. You bring them in the bottom of the 9th to hit one out, and those guys do.
Absolutely the best return. Punt returns and kickoff returns. Absolutely the best.
In the old days, there was no such thing as a return ace.
Back then, the rosters were so small, they had to use their frontline players to return kicks.
In the 1950s and 60s, Ollie Matson and Travis Williams were prime examples of running backs who were also returners, but they couldn't beat out another running back as the best of that era.
The number 7 return ace of all time, Gale Sayers.
Here we go again.
I can't believe they didn't give Gale Sayers more respect than that.
How can Gale Sayers be number 7? I can't believe he's number 7. There's something wrong with that list. Gale Sayers may have been the best kick returner in the history of the National Football League, if you look at the numbers.
Gale Sayers averaged, I think, about 31 yards of return. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Here he is, galloping Gale, carrying the mail.
1967 was the season for him. He only returned a couple of punts, but he averaged 26.7 yards a punt return. He averaged 37.6 yards per kickoff return and returned 3 of them for touchdowns. That was probably the greatest returning season anybody ever had.
Give me 18 hits a day right. That's all I need.
I remember sitting in front of a TV set as a kid watching Gale Sayers, and I never saw anything like it. That guy was unbelievable. He could turn a game anytime he wanted with a return.
Give Sayers one block, get in the way, and do something, he's gone.
He was returning kicks and punts while he was carrying the ball.
I could have ran the ball 15 times. You know, then all of a sudden, hey, I got to run back a punt return.
He was just a football player. That's my definition of him. It's a backyard football. He does whatever it takes to get in the end zone.
I remember watching one of his kick returns, and he was coming up the middle, and the guy was coming to tackle him from the left side, and he just stopped. And the guy went by, and I'm like, how'd he see that guy?
I had great peripheral vision. When I looked at the field, I could see everybody on the field. So I wasn't concerned about, oh, he's coming over here, he gonna knock me down, or somebody here. I could see these players.
The ability to change directions, just be here, move here, and be gone. He has to be your number 1 guy.
So why again is he only number 7?
He suffers from having been a great running back. He's a Hall of Fame running back, so we don't always categorize him as a return man.
If you'd made him just a return man, but without question would have been the best ever.
Okay, is that it?
You know, he didn't play that long.
True, Sayers only had 118 returns in his career.
My career was short, okay? But I don't have a problem with that. I played the game, I enjoyed it, I loved it, and the things that I did on the football field speaks for themselves.
If you're looking at one kick return with your life on the line, who are you going to send back to catch the ball? I'm sending Gale Sayers back.
The number 6 return ace of all time, Rick Upchurch.
No.
Even though he may not pass the Sayers test, Rick Upchurch exploded onto the scene in the mid-1970s by tying the record for the most punt return touchdowns in a season with 4 in just his second year.
Good returners don't run east and west, they run north and south, and Rick was one of those guys.
Rick Upchurch was unbelievable.
Week in and week out, he's worth the ticket price.
I just remember liking his name, watching him play.
I think Rick Upchurch had a real knack to get in the open and had the speed to do it.
If you had your druthers, you wouldn't kick the ball to Rick. You'd kick it away from him. The good coverage teams, that's what they do. They don't kick to him and see how good they are. They kick away from him and see if he can still handle it.
Upchurch spent much of the middle part of his career primarily as a wide receiver. But in 1982, under new head coach Dan Reeves, our number 6 return ace took 2 more punts back to the house, which at the time tied him for the most return TDs in league history.
Rick was so explosive.
You got one chance to tackle this guy. If you don't get him, he's off to the races.
He was one of those guys that had the courage to make those tough catches. A lot of guys go out there and they want a fair catch. Rick Upchurch would take a lot of chances, to catch the football because he knew if he got it in his hands, he had a chance to go to distance.
I just didn't fear anyone as far as the football field was concerned.
Our number 6 return ace also held a special place in the hearts of his team's biggest rival.
Rick Upchurch was so slippery, so fast,
and also had a big mouth, and he would drive you crazy. He would be right in your face. I'll never forget one time we're playing the Broncos, huge game. And I forget it was Tatum and Atkinson. Somebody just took him and drilled him in. And it was such a blatant 15-yard penalty.
I don't believe it! What was he thinking?
They couldn't stand him anymore. So Upchurch won the battle. You know, he won it with his mouth.
Because of the altitude, some people swore when Upchurch was returning kicks, he was toying with them like a cat and a mouse just to watch them run out of gas at Mile High Stadium.
But that wasn't the only advantage the Mile High air gave him.
I almost have to dock some points from Rick Upchurch because he played in Denver, where the air is a little bit thinner. I think it's a little easier to catch punch when you have hang time.
And we got a guy named Ray Guy that just loved to kick the ball a million miles. So Rick would have, maybe 15 yards to work with. We're usually at about 5.
That's a subtlety of the return game. But I dock a point or two from Rick Upchurch just because he played in Denver.
Keep going, baby! Don't run out of gas!
I'm sure that helped a little bit, but I think Upchurch with his talent and his speed could make that work in almost any NFL stadium.
This guy is just simply amazing.
He was clearly ahead of the game in terms of when he was playing, and for years afterwards, he was still somebody that you would look to as a prototype.
Coming up, the purest definition of a return ace on our list.
He was only on the field a few times every single game, but when he was, boy, he could change the game.
Before we resume our countdown of the top 10 return aces, here's the list so far.
Number 10, Dante toys with the competition.
The human joystick with the touchdown!
Number 9, Howard hits a home run.
If you become a Super Bowl MVP, you can't be labeled a bust.
Number 8, get out of Josh Cribbs' way.
He's almost like a linebacker running down there.
Number 7, a gale force in the Windy City.
He was as close to untackleable as any player ever going to see.
Number 6, Sundays are for Upchurch.
He was one of the best, if not the best.
And now, the number 5 return ace of all time, Mel Gray.
I would have to say Mel Gray should be a little higher than that.
Is there any better in the National Football League?
I think he's one of the more underrated guys. I think it's a wise choice because I don't think a lot of people would recognize him today as one of the top 10 return guys.
Gray began his career in 1986 with the Saints, but it was primarily as a member of the Lions where our number 5 return ace showed off his number 1 trait.
His thing was speed. Oh, he was quick.
Got his 3rd kickoff return for a touchdown this year.
Coaches were screaming. Everybody hustled to the ball. Everybody get to him. We need 11 guys to tackle him.
Bell up to the races, far side. He's gone!
And you would all come walking over to the sideline saying, what happened? We prepared for this guy, but we just couldn't stop him from getting to the end zone.
That will just break your back.
But as the old adage goes, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction.
He took some huge hits.
It's as hard a hit as you're ever going to see.
Wayne Fonts used to joke that he would go into the pile so fast that sometimes he'd get knocked back out even faster.
Watching Mel Gray made me realize that the greatest attribute a kick returner can have, and he had it, was fearlessness. Where you collect the ball, you just pick a hole and you go. And if you get hit hard and you are down. But if you burst through that hole, you're gone.
He's off to the races. Touchdown, Mel Gray. 98 yards.
The amazing thing about Mel Gray was he never lost that fearlessness.
Nobody's going to catch him. Mel Gray's going all the way for the touchdown.
In his 12 seasons, Gray scored 9 touchdowns and retired in 1997 as the league's all-time leading kick returner.
He's open. Mel Gray, one man to beat.
A lot of returners in this league do it for a year or two. It's the special ones like Mel Gray who do it year after year after year. That is really hard to do.
101-yard kickoff return by Mel Gray.
He made 4 Pro Bowls here in Detroit in a 6-year span. And I once asked one of the guys who was a Hall of Fame selector, could a return specialist who's clearly the best of his era, and Mel Gray was, could he make the Hall of Fame? And the guy said, I'd vote for him. Well, he's never come up and he never will, but he was that good for that period of time.
The number 4 return ace of all time, Deion Sanders.
You think
kick returner, you think Deion Sanders. It's almost like Deion Sanders invented that position.
Deion showcased his invention in his very first NFL game.
One man missed him, another man missed him. Now he's going wide off to the right. Deion to the 25, to the 30, to the 35, to 40. My God, Deion Sanders is going to score.
His threat in the kicking game was just enormous.
There was just something about Deion Sanders waiting to receive the kick.
Deion Sanders back deep for the Falcons.
It created a level of anticipation.
Come on, come on, come on, come on.
It was almost palpable.
He was one of these guys where everybody got on the edge of the seat. You kind of expected him always to do something kind of brilliant.
Sanders to the 25. Sanders to the 10. He did it again.
Deion Sanders in his prime was a very legitimate threat to score every time he touched the ball. He was exceptionally athletic.
Man, what an athlete.
And by the way, faster than all the really fast guys in the league.
He's gone, baby. It's a bye-bye. Touchdown, Deion Sanders.
It's on today, baby. And I'm going to get sick with it.
Deion Sanders brought not only tremendous talent to the return position, he brought an awful lot of sizzle.
I don't know that I've ever seen a more confident football player on the field. I mean, man, he had more confidence in himself.
He told you he was going to return a punt for a touchdown.
Can I get a couple punts today, Coach? What's that? Can I get a couple punts today?
And that's exactly what he did.
Deion Sanders, touchdown. Prime time does it again.
And I think he's one of the first NFL players to be that bold and that brash and still deliver.
Supreme arrogance. I'm Deion Sanders. I'm great. You didn't catch me. Too bad for you. Touchdown me.
You only have to look at your watch to see what time it is.
When the camera was on, it was prime time.
Come on, Raven, with your sweet baby.
It was time for him to put on a show.
You wanted to see that moment where he broke out free and he high-stepped his way into the end zone.
Sanders going down the sidelines, dancing for a long touchdown.
High stepping toward the end zone with his hand behind his head. That's Deion Sanders. And you know that's Deion Sanders because to this day, you have all these people trying to imitate what Deion Sanders did.
Surely seeing him on the field was the best, but seeing him in the end zone was almost as fun.
And the Deion shuffle follows in the end zone.
You'll find this piece of tape. He returned a punt against Buffalo one year.
He's high-stepping. He throws into the end zone.
At the end of the return, you'll see one of the Buffalo guys go up to him and actually pat him on the behind, as if to say, hey, you just kicked our butt, but that was nice.
Probably the only thing that might keep Deion Sanders from being the top return man of all time is all the other things he had to do on the field. Play defense.
Deion Sanders has an interception.
Even play wide receiver for one season.
Lots one to the end zone to Deion Sanders. Punt. Touchdown Dallas.
Most guys who are doing what he did wanted to get off the field and take a blow. I love that Deion wanted to stay on the field.
I think he's number one, and everybody else is tied for number 10.
Deion is a top 3 guy to me.
I probably wouldn't put him up that high.
Not high enough.
Oh, he'll be mad. He'll think he should be number 1.
He's the best. He's the best, baby.
Coming up, find out who made our top 3. And why everybody seems to be mad at us.
You cannot do this list. This list is a sham.
Who comes up with these lists?
Not all return aces can light it up year after year, but that doesn't mean one-season wonders can't get some love on our show.
Most return guys have a peak. They're sort of like comets. They burn hot for a while, but they burn out pretty quick.
No one burned brighter than Michael Lewis in 2002 when he racked up over 2,400 return yards and 3 touchdowns, 2 of them in one game.
Nobody can catch Michael Lewis. He's gone. He's got the daily double.
Eddie Drummond was a rare bright spot for the Lions in 2004, earning a Pro Bowl berth with 4 return touchdowns.
He's done it.
Eddie Drummond takes it back.
And in 2000, Marte Jenkins set an NFL record with 2,186 kick return yards, more than he had the rest of his career combined.
He's going, he scores!
For these returners, success was gone in a flash, but the next guy on our list was just plain flashy.
The number 3 return ace of all time, Billy White Shoes Johnson.
Billy White Shoes Johnson, he was the first of the great return men in the NFL.
You want us to go after it, you want to return? Return. Billy Johnson will field this one.
He was the first returner that developed a strong identity. Billy White Shoes.
White Shoes. White Shoes?
A little fella they called Billy White Shoes.
You have to have a nickname. I mean, that adds to it.
He was wearing the low-cut white shoes, which he probably painted himself, because I don't even think they were selling white shoes in stores.
It perked your attention because you never seen that before. It was something that was fresh. It was something new.
Nobody had seen anything like him.
Billy Johnson, here he goes again. Billy Johnson across midfield. He's still on his feet.
Nobody knew who Billy was, but it didn't take him long because he was an instant hit.
An electrifying return by Billy White Shoes Johnson.
He was a little small guy. He was about 5'9". You couldn't catch him.
Little number 84, Billy Johnson, a slippery escape artist who can turn a simple punt return into a geometry lesson.
Best way to describe it is trying to catch a hummingbird or maybe a lightning bug, because Billy was everywhere.
Whenever I get the ball, I don't know where I'm going or what I'm going to do. I know I'm supposed to go.
I don't think half the time the guys blocking for him, they knew where he was going.
He didn't just get the ball and go. He'd move, he'd reverse his field, he'd come back.
If he goes to the right, don't chase him, because he'll be coming back.
Johnson at the 30, 20, touchdown Billy Johnson.
Somebody said he could stop on a dime and he could leave you change.
He had that juke, if you will, that the first guy missed, and then he was off to the races. You were just chasing his shadows.
Johnson off to the races down the sideline. He's still on his feet.
When he'd get his hands on the ball on the punt, everybody stand up. He never hesitated. On his first step, he's going full speed.
Billy White Shoes was more of a showman.
I remember Billy White Shoes as one of the first guys that kind of celebrated after he scored.
Touchdown, Billy Johnson!
All of a sudden, you started to see a little bit of entertainment value coming to the NFL.
Billy White Shoes Johnson, the Funky Chicken.
The Funky Chicken. The Funky Chicken.
Oh, no, not the Funky Chicken.
The greatest celebratory dance in the history of the NFL, without a doubt.
Call him what you will.
This Michael Jackson in cleats.
Gene Kelly in cleats.
You just wanted to see him do the dance. I love him doing his little thing with his legs going in and out.
Where his legs would do this, and he'd do the splits.
And then he did the splits. He came down to the ball, and then he lifted up and he brought it back and flipped it behind his back.
Well, I would say right here you've got to go to Billy White Shoes and let him do a little dance.
Unbelievable showmanship.
To me, still the best.
Fans loved him. His teammates loved him. Opponents hated him because of the Funky Chicken.
People remember the dance, but he was a really good football player.
In my mind, Billy White Shoes Johnson is the greatest return man ever. He should be number one. In fact, this list is a sham if he's number 3. He should be number 1.
After the break, our sham continues with the Iron Man of return aces.
Return men don't last long because they're usually skinny. Well, he wasn't skinny.
Since we capped our list at 10 return aces, a few guys with strong resumes were left on the outside looking in. Like Dave Meggett, who had over 9,000 return yards and ran back 8 touchdowns.
Are you shocked that Meggett's not on our list?
I'm very shocked. You know, I played with him in Tecmo Bowl. He returned every time I played with him on Nintendo.
Vi Sikahema was a knockout returner in Philadelphia with 8,000 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Touchdown! Vi Sikahema!
I work with Vicek and with all due respect, we remember him because he punched the goalpost.
And guys like Glenn Milburn and Alan Rossum have combined for more than 25,000 yards. That's 14 miles of returns.
Alan Rossum is a perfect example of a longevity player. He did it for a lot of years, and therefore he compiled numbers.
And the poster boy for return longevity, he's next on our countdown.
The number 2 return ace of all time, Brian Mitchell.
What's interesting about Brian Mitchell is that he never returned a kick till he got to the National Football League.
That's what I plan on doing, returning everything.
He taught himself how to become a kick returner.
The first time he stepped on an NFL field, our number 2 return ace proved to be a quick study.
Rookie Brian Mitchell is trying, of course, to impress the Redskins coaches and earn a spot on that squad.
The first time I returned a kick in the league, I returned a touchdown in a preseason game.
And a good hole right away. Mitchell Bryant, he is gone.
It would be the last time anyone messed up Brian Mitchell's name.
When you take the opening kickoff back in the first preseason game, all the coaches sit up and go, hey, we got to watch that guy.
Well, that's what you call making an early statement there, Chuck.
I guess the temptation is when that happens, probably the people that saw it and thought, well, beginner's luck. Oh, really?
Touchdown! 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 Brian Mitchell! Brian Mitchell!
He not only became good at it, there are some people that would say he became the best at it.
Brian Mitchell was the standard, really, for kick returners and punt returners because he wasn't a guy who would dance. He'd get it and go straight forward.
Brian Mitchell breaks through. Mitchell made that happen by running through traffic on 3 different occasions and making the play.
A lot of guys were smaller than I was, and they were those shifty guys. If they had 10,000 yards, they might have ran 15 because they did too much other stuff. I went straight ahead.
Mitchell will get a chance to return it this time. Brian Mitchell is going coast to coast for a touchdown.
I think if you constantly get the job done, it doesn't make a difference how you get there. I just got the job done, you know? Mr. Get the job done. You got to be scratching and biting and fighting, baby, and I'm willing to do all 3 of them.
The best part about Brian Mitchell is when you saw him, he didn't have the greatest body in the world. You looked at him in the locker room and said, this guy's like the greatest return man in NFL history.
He had huge arms, thick chest, big legs.
Brian Mitchell, is he something?
He was a fullback returning punts when everybody else was a receiver or a slot back.
You know, most of those guys are 165 to about 190. And I played at 215 to 225.
Spurt to the 40, cut back, he's gone.
He was a muscular guy, and when he hit you, it hurt. If you tried to arm tackle Brian Mitchell in the middle of the field, he would rip your arm off.
Oh, what a great play!
He wasn't going to try and juke you. He wasn't going to try and outrun you. He was going to run through you.
And once again, bravo, Brian Mitchell.
I've never seen a return man who loved contact as much as he did. You give him your best shot, and he'd get up and say, that's all you got?
I like a fight. A legal one.
Mitchell was great because he sustained it over his entire career.
You have to show that you can do it at a high level on a consistent basis. That's why I think Brian Mitchell deserves a high spot on the list.
You're a hell of a player, man.
He may not have had those amazing seasons like Dante Hall, but he kept being one of the top return men in the league year after year after year.
Touchdown with a swan dive into the end zone.
Let me jump, baby. Here we go. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, go.
Brian Mitchell! He has just set an NFL record for return touchdowns, the 13th of his career.
I mean, he retired with more combined return yardage than any player in football history. If he's not number 1, no one is. Who's number 1?
Coming up, our experts aren't exactly head over heels about who's number 1.
It's like telling me Dora the Explorer is the greatest cartoon of all time over Bugs Bunny. I mean, you're going to be kidding me.
The top return ace of all time is next, but here's a recap of the 9 he beat out.
Number 10, Dante's Inferno, Burns Bryant.
He was considered as an NFL MVP as a return man. He was that great for that one season.
Number 9, Desmond Howard, the return machine.
The biggest thing I remember about Desmond is the robot. It was just kind of awkward, kind of funny.
Number 8, Josh Cribbs returns like a linebacker.
Josh Cribbs is absolutely reckless and fearless.
Number 7 is the Kansas Comet causes controversy.
How can Gale Sayers be number 7?
Number 6, Slick Rick hits Mile High Hell.
I dock a point or two from Rick Upchurch just because he played in Denver.
Number 5, Detroit turns to gray.
You thought you had him, and all of a sudden you're turning around and he's going the other way.
Number 4, Neon Dion lights up the league.
I'm Deion Sanders. You didn't catch me. Too bad for you. Touchdown, me.
Number 3, White Shoes is money.
Somebody said he could stop on a dime and he could leave you change.
Number 2, Mitchell makes his case.
The guy's got more yards than anybody that's ever done it, so how could he not be number 1?
And now, the number 1 return ace of all time, Devin Hester.
The Windy City Flyer, the man they call anytime. Devin Hester's going to return it. Burst to the 25-30, opening 35-40.
Devin Hester is great. Yeah, he's one of the best at it. As a matter of fact, his numbers in this first year and a half of trying it were unprecedented. But to say he's the best of all time, I think is nuts.
You can't win for nothing, man. Devin is the hot thing now. Well, the hot thing 2 years ago. Last year, he didn't do much.
He has been susceptible to the same problems as every other great kick returner. It didn't last. He lost his job as a kick returner halfway through 2008. He's not a game changer as a return man anymore.
So I think the jury's still out on whether or not Devin Hester is the best ever. I think the jury's still out on whether or not he's even on this list.
So I guess we're going to have to work for this one.
Trying to get out this hole, man.
Let's turn to some of Devin's supporters for some help.
Devin Hester is the best ever to play at the position.
Devin Hester is in a different category. He's unbelievable. You don't find guys like him. You can't find guys like him.
What he did in his first 3 years in the league, no one's ever done it, so you have to put that guy at the top of the list. You have to.
To put what our number 1 return ace has achieved in his short career into perspective, consider that in the 85 seasons in NFL history before Devin Hester came into the league, not one player ever had more than 4 combined kick and punt return touchdowns in a season. Hester has done it twice.
I just never seen a guy like Devin Hester do it as many times. And just, how does this guy, how does he get another, how did he get another touchdown?
Devin Hester done it again!
You know what? He's genius. He is genius because he kind of just fakes. No, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to do anything. And he's gone.
I remember the play where there was a missed field goal. And he just kind of plays possum there, and all of a sudden he starts running out.
And now Devin Hester going to run it out.
And it was like, what's going on here?
No chance. Goodbye. Touchdown. The Windy City Flyer.
Unfortunately, I saw Devin Hester do it twice in a game.
He can go 80 to 90 at any time. Devin Hester.
Hester starts at the 10, veering right, now angling to the middle at the 20, hits the gas, 25-30, 35-40, long gone.
It makes me want to throw up, literally.
He changed his games, ladies and gentlemen. He changed his games.
Are you kidding me?
I don't, the guy's something.
In the second return in St. Louis, I came up with the term that Devin Hester, you are ridiculous.
This guy's ridiculous. Hello, notice to the NFL.
If he hadn't already officially served notice, our number 1 return ace did so with one of the most memorable moments in Super Bowl history.
It's rare that something you talk about and dissect and analyze really comes to pass in the course of the game, much less on the opening kickoff.
Flat ball popping here in Miami. Hester under it and to the middle at the 15, to the 20, breaks free, the 25 to the 30, to the outside.
Everyone was expecting him to do it, and he did it. That never happens.
Hester 5. Oh! Touchdown Bears! No way!
I think everybody's reaction was, oh my God.
Devin Hester, you are ridiculous.
The legacy of Devin Hester is still being written, but if he has anything to say about it, there will never be any doubt who's number 1.
I want to put a number out there that's twice as much as the guy that's behind me. I know that records are meant to be broken, but this one I want to try to put it out there as far as I can.
Devin Hester has run into the NFL record book.
Has he been doing it long? No, he hasn't. Is it fair to put him ahead of all these other guys that had great careers as return guys? Yeah, I think it is.
There he goes! Devin Hester keeps making history!
So that's how this top 10 list shakes out. Love it.
Finally, you guys did a good job with the list.
Or hate it.
Who comes up with these lists? I say, well, upstairs, make this list. I gotta go tackle him.
One thing's for sure. The debate over number one has only just begun.
That's why he's the best. He's the best.
Deion Sanders is definitely number one on my list.
In my mind, Billy White Shoes Johnson is the greatest return man ever.
If Brian Mitchell is not number one, no one is.
Look at the record books. I am number one. Well, it has to be me.
In the end, there may only be one good way to settle it.